Welcome everybody, this is a video that y'all been asking for a long time. Want to see the inner workings of our operation? First thing I'm gonna need you to do is put on your safety goggles, because there's a lot of moving parts around here. Alright, so we're just going to go around the room and tell you a little bit about the machines that we use. Some of y'all have seen us use these in videos, and sometimes we don't use these very often. So first one up is the hill wheel. I'm not actually sure how old this is, so if some of y'all out there have one of these and you know how old it is, then let us know. But basically what this is for attaching hill blocks, especially on things like cowboy boots. It's hard to get a hammer down in there, and virtually impossible. So you can slip a boot over this, and then you drop nails in here, and then as this comes down, it pushes those nails up through the bottom and into the heel block. So there's other functions that can actually be used on this, but that's primarily what we use it for. This is our Continental 8 Auto Solar, and it shoots some, there we go. It shoots little wire nails, and this is great for holding on. Some people use it to hold on blocks. I'm not a big fan of that. I like threaded nails, but this is great for shooting into top lifts if you want to. But it's just a little automatic nailer. All right, this is obviously just a buffer, just horsehair brushes. We don't even use this old thing. It's molting hair, so we just use our brown, neutral, and black, but it gives a really good shine. All right, so for the people who have watched our old videos that we used to be in our old shop, it was a small little 850 square foot shack basically, and it had no ventilation in it, so all the glue that we used to use for years, we were getting headaches, and yeah, it was bad. It was not good for you. So we invested in this. It's actually from Landis. It is we call it a fumebuster, but basically the vapors from glue are heavier, so they don't rise, they actually can sink. And this is a charcoal filtration system that pulls all the vapors from glue down through filters, through charcoal, and then flushes out fresh air, so it's a purifying system. A lot better for us. All right, so this is our jet filtration system. It deals more with the dust, and working with shoes and sanding and leather, it creates a lot of dust. This is actually used more for woodworking, but it works great with leather dust as well. And so we've actually got it to where it can run from each, through PVC and tubing. We've got it running all the way down the wall, and it can go from machine to machine. All right, now the oldest piece of equipment that we have in the shop, is this Landis line finisher. It's probably around 70 years old. Could be more, could be less. We don't use the entire machine because new finishing machines have all the same components and actually better, but there are some aspects of this machine that we do use. And we've started all the way on this end. We've got different burnishers, and you can see they come in different sizes and different shapes, and this is for burnishing the edges of soles. And then you've got hill burnishers on these things. You've got different horsehair brushes, black, brown, neutral. You've got different grits of sandpaper, fine. This is a very coarse. This is about like a 24 grit. And this is around an 80 to 100. This is our finest, probably about like 120. You've got a heel breast sander, little cone, allows you to get in and make sure the inside is as smooth as you can get it. And this is pretty much as far as we use. This is an edge trimmer sharpener. We use it occasionally, but we've got another one that we use. And we've thought about actually cutting part of this off and free up some space, but nah. And then old trimmers that we don't use. But back in the day, this is how most shoes were cobbled and made on machines just like this. More dust. This is our Grizzly Air Purification system. It sits right over our main finishing machine because a lot of dust gets kicked off when that back vacuum bag inflates. So just another preventative measure to keep the dust down in this place. It's a never-ending battle, and one that we'll never exactly win, but we can try to curb it as much as possible. All right, so this is our main finishing machine. It's not the youngest machine in the shop either. It is probably from the 80s, I'm guessing, but you can see it's got some love on it. But it's got all the same type of components that were found on the old line machine, but when I was showing you those little burnishing things that can come on and off, we actually preferred those than using these that are built in here. So on this machine, we don't use pretty much anything on this side. So we really do get to pick and choose which of the machines and which of the components we use. This is the 80 to 100 around there grit, another 24 grit, another heel breast. This is one that we have on this one. There's one of these on the line finisher we just don't use. And this is just really good for finishing inside of the waist, or you can sand the bottoms of soles. It's just a little disc and allows you to get into little nooks and crannies a little easier than some of the other sanders. And then a rubber trimmer and the leather trimmer. You've seen us use this quite a bit in our videos. Now this one, not so much. All right, so this is the tried and true, what you'll find in every single cobbler shop and a lot of shoe manufacturing facilities. This is the old Landis Stitcher, and this is the Landis K model, and probably one of the most well-known. We'll open up the top here and you can kind of see the inner workings of it. The cool thing about this is I went up to a guy in Illinois, and he had an old Landis that was built by Mr. Landis back in the 1800s. And the only difference, he didn't have a machine. It was an old foot pedal operation, but the inner workings of this have not changed since then. So it's a lot of moving parts, but incredible how it works. It pretty much just comes up, the awl pokes a hole through the welt in the sole. It comes back down, the needle follows it and loops around the thread, picks up the thread, and then it comes and this little shuttle loops it over the bobbin and down she goes. And it just goes over and over and over. So pretty cool little operation. So if you have a shoe that is Goodyear welted, this is going to be the type of machine that's going to stitch your sole on. All right, so if you have a Blake stitch shoe, this is the machine that you're going to need. It has a horn to kind of curve around. The shoe can twist and turn during the stitching process, but this is the needle will actually go all the way through the bottom of the sole into the through the insole, wrap it around, pull back up, and grab hold of the bobbin thread. So this one goes all the way through the shoe versus the other one that just went through the welt. This is a Geneva, and it's only got 2 mechanisms, where a lot of the other ones, this is actually a little bit more of a rarer than a lot of shops will have. They have a 3 mechanism little part, but this one is so simple. It's just incredible how something so simple can stitch so fast. All right, so this is definitely one that you've seen a lot in our videos. This is our sole and heel press. It basically just has a water-filled pad that will mold around the sole, and then you've got these different shapes of glass to really kind of conform to whatever style of boot you have, and then it just comes down to presses, and then you can take this off, put on the flat one, and it will press heels. So this is to get a good bond when you first stick these things, stick the soles and get them to curve and bond to the welts and all the leather pieces. Definitely a good piece to have in your shop. Yeah. Next piece of machinery up is the 1010 clicker press. We use this for cobbling. We actually use this for our sandal production as well. If you've got a piece of leather and you need to cut it out, we use these dies, different shapes. They're bladed on the bottom, put it over, and it just clicks it out. It makes it a whole lot easier. When we first started out making things, we didn't have this, and we were having to either hand cut it out or use a hammer and beat the thing in all kinds of rackets. So this definitely makes it a lot quicker and a lot cleaner cut. So good one to have. All right, this is our Landis trencher. And we used to have one that was really, really old, and it finally just went kaput on us. So we bought this new one from Landis, and it will trench the groove for the stitches on the bottom of the sole to lay in. And we can use this on rubber or on leather. And you can adjust the width and how far from the edge you want it. Makes it a lot cleaner. We also do it by hand. So sometimes we do it by hand, sometimes we use this machine. All right, so this is the Landis 5-in-1. This is tried and true. Every shoemaker or boot maker or cobbler is gonna have one or something similar to this in their shop. We only use it for 3. We've got the cutter over here. You'll always see us cutting off the excess leather, or just, you know, if we're trimming something, we have to be very precise. This is really good instead of doing it by hand. We use the press that will wheel, and it'll press the welt down onto the sole and get a good bond. And then you've got a blade back here that can actually, a piece of leather can go through. We use that to cut our heel rands. If you're cutting a half sole and you want to skive it up to a feather tip, then you can run it through here and it'll cut it at the exact angle that you need it. But as you turn the handle, every moving part is going. So it's not like you can flip from one to the next. They're always running. It's just you choose which one you want to use for that moment. All right, so most of our cool old tools are in here, and I'll grab a few of these, come over and show y'all what we use them for. All right, so these are just some samples of tools, the hand tools that we use on a regular basis. These 3 are pretty much just kind of decorative, and these have a little bit more function to them. You see this one, you can actually change the patterns of wheels that you want to put on. Gives kind of a decorative pattern. You've got a fudge wheel. And this is a heel iron, but this actually goes along the outside, and this is a little thinner than normal, but when you wet it, it will actually leave basically kind of like this indentation, but on the outside of the hilt. And then these are, these 2 are for finishing. These are irons. These are very old. These are from Europe. These are German. This one is English. And those burnishing wheels that I showed you on the old line finisher that we use, this is just the handheld version. So if you see guys who are doing bespoke shoes, a lot of times they're still using these. And once it's inked and waxed, and you can go along, heat these up, and they have different sizes according to how thick the leather is. And you can go back and forth. This, you can actually do the bottom of the soles, around the heels and the edges. And then this is that hand tool that does what the Landis groover does. This is just our hand tool that we actually use. So it will go along the edge and take off a piece of leather. You can go over it multiple times, however deep you want the leather to be. And then these are actually what your stitches will lay down in. This is our strip cutter that we use, and we've used this from old sandal making, and we use it primarily now when we cut our rawhide laces that we're fixing to start selling on our website. And you can just cut however many strips you want, and different widths, and it just pulls the whole hide through and cuts it. We used to have to do every single one of these by hand, and it was a pain in the rear. So definitely an easier machine, makes life a lot easier. This is our patching machine. This is a German built patching machine, and it's got a long arm. A lot of cobblers will use this when they're doing jackets or bags and stuff. We don't do that stuff, but we can use this for just assortment of different things. It usually winds up being little projects that I'm working on, but it will cut, it'll actually punch through some pretty heavy leather, and it's a great piece of machinery. Last but not least is our sewing machine, our flat top sewing machine. This is a 5550 Cobra. It's got a roller foot. I'm actually thinking about switching this out for one with a walking foot. So I'm kind of in the market for a new sewing machine, but this one definitely gets a lot of, gets the job done. And it looks like, you're just your typical home sewn machine, except for it's got a roller foot. So that just about wraps up most of the tools that we use in the shop here in the production. This has been a video that a lot of people have been wanting. I know we're not dealing with shoes today, but it's just a fun video just to show you what we use on a daily basis. So hopefully you like this video. If you do, give us a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and tell your friends. Until next time, y'all have a good one.